Hey guys, Chris Cook in Nashville here. Today we're doing carnivore and keto lasagna. I have a carnivore version, a keto version. This is the meal prep method. I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'm going to show you how to make this. All right, so let's get to it. Let's do carnivore and keto lasagna.
Okay folks, so I'm gonna link down below my video for pasta. I have one pasta batch here that I made with that recipe. The only difference in this is I used 4 egg yolks and 1 whole egg, and then I didn't use any Parmesan cheese, and I reduced the egg white powder by 1/2 tablespoon. So it's just a slight modification, but you bake it the same way. Everything is the same. Now I'm not gonna boil this or dehydrate this like I do with my noodles. I'm just gonna take this straight out of the oven, pull it out, let it cool, and then put it here on the cutting board, and we're gonna make this fit into this pan. So this is about 12 inches by 16, something like that, the noodle size that I have. And then this pan is about a 9 by 12. So you can see this pan does about 2 pans per sheet of pasta. So what I'm gonna do is cut these pasta sheets down the center in half, and then I'm going to trim the ends to make it the right length, and then that is actually going to give us 5 total layers of noodle, which is going to be perfect. So I'm just going to slice right down the middle, and that's going to make it about the right width to go into this pan. Then I'm going to fold that over, and then you see what I'm going to do here is I'm going to square this up. I'm actually going to use the pan to measure. Use the bottom of the pan, set it on there, take my knife, I'm going to slide that down the pan. So right there is about the length of the bottom of the pan. To make it easier, I'm going to pull it back just maybe a little 1/4 of an inch there, so it's just a little smaller. And now you can see these big sheets, they fit perfectly into this pan, and then the little trimmings I can use to make a final layer. So I have 4 of the big sheets, and then the little trimmings make a 5th final layer. So there's our pan. Okay, now these pans that I bought also come with this little cover, which is really nice because I can put it in the fridge like this. I can also meal prep this and freeze them, so this is gonna be great. So we're gonna start working on the stuffing. This is about 2 cups of ricotta cheese, but this is for 3 lasagnas. I'm doing 3 lasagnas today, so I have 1 egg in here, and this is gonna get split in thirds. So the recipe is about 2/3 of a cup of ricotta. I have some Italian seasoning on that. That's totally optional. I'm gonna put a large pinch of salt in this, and I'm gonna do some freshly ground black pepper. Again, black pepper, totally optional. Season this however you like. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of garlic powder as well. I like adding the garlic in with the dairy because it softens the garlic flavor, and I don't usually use fresh garlic because that seems to bother me a little bit. So all I'm gonna do is add in about a teaspoon of that garlic powder, mix this up with that egg really well. You can see we have this nice loose ricotta cheese paste that egg is going to help bind it, and then we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. This is all to taste. It's not going to affect anything one way or the other. It's all to taste. So that cheese and egg will help this set up as the stuffing inside of the lasagna, which is perfect. I also have a bowl of mozzarella cheese pearls. These are a fresh mozzarella, different than the shredded. So this is close to 2 cups of this probably as well. I'm just going to put a few of these in the layers because you get these little dots of fresh mozzarella through it. It's really good. That's totally optional, but I really enjoy doing this. So this is about 2 cups, and again, it's going to split between 3 lasagnas. Okay, so now we need to make sauce. So I have 3 pounds of beef, and I just browned this in a skillet, nothing special, with a little bit of salt. And then this is for the keto version. For the 2 keto lasagnas I'm making, I'm going to take 1 small onion chopped up, use a little bit of the beef fat from when I browned the beef, and I'm going to put this onion into the skillet. I've got this on a medium heat. Okay, so I just diced up a small onion. You don't need a lot of onion, but a little is nice if you're doing the keto version. For the carnivore version, I won't be doing this. This is the sauce for the keto lasagna. Okay, so I'm just going to put that into the beef fat. I've got this on a medium heat. I want to keep it low. We're not trying to put color on the onions. We're just trying to soften them. So I'm going to add a large pinch of salt that helps the onions break down. Stir that around through the beef fat over medium heat. You'll hear it starting to sizzle just a little bit when you do this. And then we're just going to keep it moving. And after a few minutes, you can see the onion is starting to become translucent and soft, but it is not browning, okay? The little bit of color you see there is from the beef fat. Now I'm using this Rouse tomato sauce. You use whatever tomato sauce you want. Just look at the carb count. This Rouse is not too bad. And again, it's going to be split between 2 keto lasagnas. we're going to be keeping one and giving the other away. So here is our onion. It is cooked nice and soft. It is not color in any way. I'm not browning it, but you can see it's just translucent and soft, releasing its water. That just makes it really nice and tender, and it's going to make it taste fantastic. So I'm going to turn my heat off. I'm going to pour my Rao's tomato sauce directly on top of those onions. Now that's going to continue to heat up, but that will prevent them from browning while they're sitting there. Now this is something you can do to make jarred tomato sauce taste great. Add a couple tablespoons of heavy cream. You don't have to do this, totally optional, but it really takes a little bit of that kind of acidic edge off of a tomato sauce like this, even if you make it yourself. It just softens the flavor, and it's really, really nice. So now that I've added the tomato sauce, I'm going to turn this back up on kind of a medium-low heat because I want to introduce some heat. And I went ahead and moved this to a larger skillet so I have a little room to work because I'm going to end up adding my ground beef to this in just a minute. So we're just going to heat this up and cook a little of the excess liquid out. Now I'm going to take 2 pounds, about 2/3 of this ground beef because I'm making 2 lasagnas, and I'm going to pour that in here. You can use more meat or less meat in a lasagna. It's however you want to do it. I'm doing about 1 pound for each of these small lasagnas. So I'm going to add that in there. We're going to stir that around, get that all coated and mixed in really well. And again, this is just ground beef that I browned with a little bit of salt. Nothing special in it. That's all I did. Okay, so once that's all mixed together, get a really nice homogeneous mixture, we can work on the sauce for the carnivore version. So I have a little bit of water and a stainless steel bowl. I've got the water turned up on high because we're basically making a double boiler method of cooking here, okay? So we're going to take this double boiler and I'm going to add some heavy cream. This is about 1/4 cup of heavy cream. You can make it as sauce of a lasagna as you want or as not saucy. So that was about 1/4 cup of cream and then 1/2 cup of chicken broth. You can use any broth you want, and 1 egg. I'm just going to crack that egg directly in there. We're going to add a pinch of salt and we're going to use a whisk and we're just going to whisk this. Now you want to keep whisking this. Don't stop. And you will see after a few minutes it starts to get thick and frothy and foamy. We're just going to keep going. You can see the steam coming out from around the bowl. It's getting hot, but you see how it's getting thick? That's like making a custard. So I'm going to take it off the heat, whisk it over here, and then we're going to go ahead and add about 1/4 cup of fresh grated Parmesan. Use any kind of Parmesan cheese you want. This is just some that I had that I'm doing fresh, but it's a very fine grind, so it's not super dense. It's very fluffy. And it's about 1/4 cup. It doesn't have to be exact, but that cheese just helps that sauce really thicken and come together. And it's nice and tasty in there, right? So we're just going to drop that cheese in there and stir that in while it's still hot. Whisk that together really well, and that is going to give us a really nice texture on this sauce. Okay, once that sauce is all stirred together, we'll just pour that thick, cheesy, bechamel-style sauce. That's basically what this is, over the ground beef. That's 1 pound of that ground beef that I'm using for the carnivore lasagna. So we'll just stir that together, and there you go. That is our carnivore version of the sauce. Once that's all done, we get to start assembling. So I always take a little bit of sauce and put it on the bottom of the pan. We're going to do this carnivore one first. Put just a little sauce on the bottom of the pan. That keeps the pasta from baking down, sticking to the bottom of the pan. And then we lay a pasta sheet down. See how nicely that fits? Just push that down nice and flat. And then we're going to add all of our various things. So I have my carnivore sauce. And remember, you're going to have 5 pasta layers. I don't put any sauce on the top pasta, so I use about 1/4 of it each time. So there's our carnivore sauce, and then we're adding the ricotta cheese mixture. Just kind of stir that around in the sauce a little bit, spread it out. You can do this however you want. Then this is just some shredded mozzarella cheese, and this is for 3 lasagnas. So it looks like a lot of cheese, but it's going to be split amongst 3 lasagnas, which is 4 servings each. So you're talking 12 servings. Then I'm going to put a few of those mozzarella pearls. Again, you don't have to do that. I just really like that. Once that's done, we put another layer on top and push it down, compress that lasagna. And we're just going to keep repeating this process. We're going to do this for every layer. One thing that's easiest sometimes for me is do the ricotta cheese first and then the sauce. Makes it a little easier to spread. This is our top layer. Now on the top layer, I put just a little ricotta cheese and then the mozzarella cheese because I don't want any of that sauce on top. And then the last thing we do is put a nice coating of fluffy Parmesan cheese right over the top. This is going to help the top of it brown and get crispy, and it just adds this beautiful layer of browned cheese flavor. It's so nice on top. It's just the greatest way, in my opinion, to finish your lasagna. So that's probably about another third, quarter of a cup, something like that. Okay, so now we're going to do the keto version. So exact same process, except I'm using the tomato version of the sauce. Now I'm going to be making 2 of these. One of them is going to go in the freezer for a family friend that we are making dinner for, and then the other one is going to be baked for my wife. So a little sauce on the bottom so the noodle doesn't stick. Press down the pasta sheet. Then there we go with the ricotta cheese mixture, and that gets all spread out, right? And then we're going to add more of that sauce mixture with the meat. Okay, now you can do this however you want. You guys like different things in your lasagna. You can do whatever things you want in this, depending on your diet. So if you like to make your sauce different, that's great. If you don't want to use all the cheese, you want to use less dairy, you can literally do this however. So I'm going to add both kinds of my mozzarella on there, make the layer, right? And try to get that shredded mozzarella cheese spread as evenly as you can. It just makes it bake up more evenly and flatter. And then we take a pasta sheet, lay it on top, and we're going to press it down, compress that lasagna. That's going to help it bake together. And then we're going to do the exact same thing for all of the layers, and you can see I'm making 2 of them simultaneously here. Okay, and you don't have to be like super picky about this. This is honestly not really so much a recipe as it is a technique when putting the lasagnas together like this. And just like I did with the carnivore, I'm going to use some Parmesan cheese and grate that over the top. And I'm using this microplane because it makes the Parmesan cheese very fluffy. And when you make that fluffy grated Parmesan from an actual wedge of Parmesan like this, it really makes this nice brown, crispy layer. And, you know, the nice thing is you also don't have to worry about whatever all of the weird things are that they may be putting in the canned Parmesan cheese. But, you know, if you're okay with that and it doesn't bother you, that's totally fine too. You can use that stuff. I use it for things various times. You've seen recipes where I've used it. It doesn't really bother me, but it is really nice to use this fresh Parmesan. And I just try to get a really nice even coating across the whole top of that. Okay, now to make your life easier, because we're going to be making multiples of these, all you have to do is set them onto a cookie sheet. Now I'm going to be baking 2 of these and then putting 1 in the freezer, but if I was to bake all 3, I'd be putting them on cookie sheets like this. Just makes things a little bit easier to get them in and out of the oven. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the 1 in the freezer. You can see I put the little cover on top and I wrote instructions on here. Now these instructions are if it's thawed. If it's frozen, you might have to do it for an hour to begin with. So here's the 2 that I cooked fresh. You can see these coming out of the oven. Guys, look at what that Parmesan cheese does to the top of these lasagnas. And let's just take a moment and just appreciate that as carnivores or keto people, that we can have something as beautiful and wonderful as this crispy brown cheesy top lasagna. You'll also see I put some Italian seasoning over the top. Again, totally optional. I just sprinkled it on top right before I put it into the oven. So we're going to cut these. I like to cut these into 4. I think it's 4 really nice size lasagna servings per pan. And remember, this is way more filling than regular pasta. So it's not like you have to have gigantic slices of this to be full. And I have to say, the cheese pull and the steam just makes me very, very happy. I mean, how can you not get into that? So that's the keto version. You can see the pasta holds up really well, all the different layers. It's kind of falling apart there, but that's all right. It's still going to taste fantastic. This is the carnivore version. Again, you get that crispy browned cheese top. We cut it into 4 servings. And just like before, we're going to get in there and get a good cheese pull. Look at that beautiful carnivore bechamel style sauce. It is so creamy, so tasty. I'm just going to put all of that on there and enjoy those cheese pulls. So here is our keto lasagna with the tomato sauce and our carnivore lasagna with that chicken broth bechamel style sauce. The last thing, this is purely plating. You don't have to do this, but I'm just putting a little sprinkle of parsley over top of each one Just makes it look nice for you guys on camera. And y'all, I think it's time to have dinner.
All right, guys, my wife and I are sitting down to dinner. This looks really good.
It looks really good.
Looks
It also
really, really
smells
good.
amazing.
It does. So mine is the carnivore version. You can see the beef and that sort of bechamel style sauce that I made for it, and of course it's super cheesy. And she has the keto version, which I did that tomato sauce with as well. So I'm gonna let you dig in and let you tell me what you think.
All right.
She's never had this.
Nope.
So
First time. I kind of want to try the carnivore one too.
yeah, I'll let you try it.
It looks really good too.
Yeah. It's gonna be.
I don't know if I'd have a favorite.
I think it's gonna be really, really good. So.
All right. Try to do this pretty.
You guys see though the noodles hold together really, really well,
Yeah.
even after being baked into the lasagna.
Truthfully, like I said, I've never had this dish before, but it looks like lasagna.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have known that is not a real noodle. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks just like it.
It smells just like it too.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I came home and the whole house smelled like lasagna, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, thank you, Lord." Oh,
That good, huh?
excuse me. Yeah, that literally tastes like real, legit lasagna. I mean, like, I know Olive Garden is not the pinnacle of Italian food,
Yeah.
but you go there, it's like they probably have a good lasagna.
Yeah.
I think this is better than that. I mean, this is super, super good.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So as you guys saw what I did with the noodles, I made my typical noodle recipe, okay? Standard noodles. But instead of putting any of the Parmesan cheese in it, I left that out. That 5th egg yolk that I put in, I went ahead and added the white, so that was a 5th whole egg. So 4 egg yolks and 1 whole egg. That egg white gives it a little bit better of a texture to hold up to bake. And then I removed 1/2 tablespoon of the egg white powder, so I didn't make it quite as dry, which makes it a little thinner when you spread it a little bit more easily. And it just seems to work really, really well for this application of noodles. And you guys saw the rest. And then I just put a little sprinkle of basil, just like dried basil, into the noodles just to give it a little something. And then I put a little sprinkle of Italian seasoning over the top when I put it in the oven, and put a little sprinkle of parsley right at the end. You don't have to do any of that. All the seasonings and herbs and all that are always optional. If you don't like any of that kind of stuff, you don't have to do any of that. But that's pretty much what I did. So there's the keto lasagna. You want to try the carnivore one?
Yeah, can I try that?
Yeah.
It looks super, super good. So, I mean, you can take a bite first. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I ate his dinner.
It's okay. When you get married,
Yeah.
when
What's
you get
mine is
married, what's
yours.
mine is hers, and what's hers is hers, and what's ours is the dog's, apparently.
Yeah,
So.
that's pretty much how it works. Yeah, this just looks like super freaking good. Let's see, trying to eat like a lady, but sometimes that doesn't work. Man.
Good, better, different. I mean, I know they're just going to be different, but
They're different, clearly.
yeah.
I mean, just different, slightly different flavors, clearly, because, the sauces and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
I'd eat the hell out of that. I'm going to take another bite. Yeah, I mean, man, that is like super, super good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you guys
Yeah.
saw basically what I did was use a double boiler to make that kind of bechamel style sauce with the chicken broth. You can use any kind of bone broth you want, and then the egg and just a little bit of the cream. Honestly, you could do this the exact same way I do my gravy in a pan. I just did it over the double boiler because it was a little bit easier, but you can really do this with any kind of sauce that you want. I used chicken broth, but you could use beef broth. You could use anything that you wanted, really. So, good?
Yes, I think that is amazing. I'm going to eat the whole pan of that.
Fantastic.
And, yeah, super good.
Awesome. Well, guys, I took those pans, I cut them, as you saw, into 4 pieces each. So, I mean, there's 4 servings. That's a good sized piece of lasagna.
Yes.
That's also because of all the eggs and the protein and the fat that are in them and everything. This is going to be way more filling than a regular pasta. So you can thoroughly enjoy these things and have zero guilt about eating any kind of real pasta. Get filled up very quickly. I think that it's easily 4 servings in this, and if you have a whole carnivore family, you could do this and maybe put some eggs or some other kind of meat or something alongside of it if you wanted to. Or honestly, maybe this would be fine by itself. So, and the fact that you can prep it, put it in those little containers, you can get them in most grocery stores. wrap it up in plastic, throw it in the freezer, and you can basically pull it out. You can either let it thaw, sit on the counter for, you know, an hour or two and let it kind of thaw out some. Or honestly, you can just put it in, like, instead of a 375 degree oven, you could probably do a 350 degree oven for like an hour, and then uncover it and, you know, do another 15 or 20 minutes or so and maybe up the temperature to 375, or even, I mean, you can go all the way up to like 450 if you want to get it, you know, really to brown quickly. So
truthfully too, if I can add on to just my hot take, as the kids say, if we were having like people over for dinner or something, I would hands down serve this. I don't think people would know that it is not actual lasagna. I mean, it literally tastes like this incredible homemade lasagna. And I'm even talking about the carnivore version. Like, that is incredible as well. Both are equally great, just slightly different. But if I went over to someone's house and didn't know and I ate that, I would be blown away. I'd be like, wow, Chris makes the best lasagna, not even carnivore.
I think this is the kind of stuff that when you guys, you know, you have these recipes, you can learn to do this kind of stuff. You can feed not only your family keto and carnivore type stuff, especially if maybe you're the only one in the family that's doing that and the others don't really want to. They're not going to feel cheated by having this with you. And then, you know, for people who are coming over, or if you're taking a dish to a potluck or like any of that kind of stuff, you can make something that no one will even know is keto or carnivore. They just think it's really, really great. And you don't have to make a big deal out of it. You don't have to say anything. It's not like you're feeding people something that's bad for them and not telling them. You're feeding people something that is not the version of it that maybe they would expect it to be. But it's still things that are very good for them. And unless there's some kind of a dietary, like, you know, restriction or like an allergy or a religious thing or something like that, there's nothing wrong with like feeding them stuff that's made out of a different method of doing this than maybe what they might expect. So it's just kind of a cool thing to take with you to things like that. So guys, thank you so much. That's our keto lasagna and carnivore lasagna. I'm gonna let my wife enjoy the keto version because I don't do the tomato sauces, but I'm gonna enjoy some carnivore lasagna, and we're gonna have a good time and take our leftovers and put them back in the fridge and probably enjoy these tomorrow as well. So yes. All right, guys, there we go. That is the keto lasagna, the carnivore lasagna, and the meal prep version of lasagna. This is a really easy recipe. Just take the noodles and do those modifications like I told you in the video. It really becomes super easy, and these are great to have like in the freezer. You can just pull them out, they're ready to bake. They're really, really good. So guys, thank you so much for watching this. Now, remember, you can modify these recipes however you want. This is really heavy on dairy. I know that. That doesn't bother me because I don't do it very often, but I really like it that way for the occasional treat. If you don't want all that dairy, you can modify this however you want. You can make it more ketovore, you can make it more carnivore, you can make it more keto, you can go veg heavy and you can add other veggies into it. However you like to make lasagna, just keep track of those carb counts and you can make this work for whatever version of it you want to make. So guys, thank you so much for watching. All of my links are down below, the Patreon and the Amazon store and the swag shop and all of that kind of thing. If you want, join those YouTube memberships as well. Remember, YouTube members and Patreon members, $5 and up, you guys all get some extra recipes. I'm working on some cool videos. We're going to do some great stuff. So don't forget about that. I appreciate every one of you that supports the channel here in the band. I love you guys. I can't do this without you. And I'm having such a blast, and I just appreciate every one of you supporting me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Eat your meat. Love your life. This is Chris Cook in Nashville. I'll see you guys in the kitchen for our next recipe.
Okay. Here, now you take this back and you give this to me. I'll eat your dinner. I don't have to use it, but I threw that way. Okay, hey, there's your first bite.